All right, I wanted to do another video on like once you have a practice sketch of a hero or villain, how to take that practice sketch and start turning them into like a finished drawing. Because I think that maybe at this point, most of us understand how to do, you know, like the guidelines and get these things in there. But how do you take this now and turn it into an actual figure? Well, what you need to start doing is you need to think about, you know, obviously when you're drawing the face, remember those lines that we draw in. And I know they probably look pretty creepy to start out, but what needs to happen is you really need to think about where you're putting things on the figure. Oops. And all right, so let me just bring down the opacity on this creepy face for a second. And then I'm gonna go to another layer and show you how to transform this into a face. Now remember, when you're drawing the figure smaller, you can kind of simplify the eye. So I'm just gonna draw in like a line over the eye and then just like the iris really quickly. For the eyebrow, I'm just gonna start with one line and then kind of draw in the tail of the eyebrow. For the nose, I'm just gonna draw a shadow under the nose, shadow under the top lip, shadow under the bottom lip. You don't need to draw much more detail for the face. When you go to start drawing in here, I'm gonna give this guy some like curly hair. Maybe he's got like a part up here, so I'm gonna start with a V. I'm gonna draw in some crazy hair happening up here. There's his ear. Okay, so I'm gonna have like some loose curls that come away from there. A lot of people wanna draw every individual hair, and instead what you should do is just draw the outside edge of the hair. Okay, so like if this is the outline of the hair completely, and then fill in with color, and then you can add in a few loose curly cues or things like that kind of coming away from that hair. When you start adding clothing, it's basically like you're wrapping fabric around a cylinder. So if you're thinking about like a Coca-Cola can, how like the label kind of wraps around it, or like a bottle of, you know, something. So if your person is wearing gloves or something, you want it to be wider than the wrist, you could widen it up. Or you could just keep it, like if they're wearing sort of like a spandex hero outfit, you could keep it kind of tight to the skin like that. Same thing if they're wearing boots, you might want to be able to see like where the boot comes out a little wider around the leg. If they're doing tight clothing, it's actually easier because obviously with tight clothing, you're just going to say, okay, I want the t-shirt to end here, so I'm just going to add in a little bit of a curve here. If it's loose clothing, gravity tends to take hold of it, and then you'll have, like, let's say his leg is kind of leaning this way. Maybe you'll have a little bit of extra fabric kind of like towards the front of the pants leg. So here's like his pants leg kind of crinkled up here, and then it's really tight to the calf on the top of the pants leg. Or maybe he's wearing a sweatshirt, like a hoodie, so the hoodie looks kind of baggy down in this zone, but then his back, you know, the gravity's kind of pulling the hoodie down onto the back, but of course then we have like, you know, a hood maybe hanging back here, some creases that come around to the front where like the drawstrings are. Okay. So yeah, so same thing with like baggy sleeves. You'd want to drop them down a little bit down towards the bottom. Maybe the hoodie's kind of tight here and kind of trims up there. Adding clothing. So when you go to start adding a background behind your hero or villain, what I want you to think about is like, where is your horizon line? Are we looking at kind of an aerial view of this figure? And so there's a lot more ground than there is sky? Or is he standing up, you know, on like the cliff of a mountain like this, and we see like the edge of the cliff coming down like this, and then the background is all sky. So like, think about, where is the ground? Are they inside? Are they outside? And all these things I think will help you just kind of establish like, where are they? You know, if you don't really know, you could just add in like a line, and this would be like where the ground meets a wall. Maybe it's like an alley wall, and maybe there's like a dumpster out here. By the way, if you're drawing in anything rectangular around them, you need to think about perspective. So here's my dumpster on wheels, okay? Here's like the ripply lid on the dumpster, okay? Maybe over here is like a trash can. This is gonna be a cylinder drawn in right, you know, correct perspective. So think about what's surrounding them, what's around, things in the background, especially if you have a vast amount of space. So like, let's say I was doing, yeah, like the cliff again. I'm going to put him back on a cliff because that was kind of fun. So I'm having this cliff that he's standing on, and back here, there's like another horizon line, and there's like maybe like a river, I don't know, that comes off in the distance like this. And there's like, I don't know, maybe little mountains off in the back, okay? So whatever's going on in the distance should be a little bit lighter than what's happening on your figure.